is. Liberals will now drop the management of the invading illegals into municipalities' hands. I saw a report talking about how they were going to stop paying for hotels for migrants, which is good, but where are they all going to live? Oh, maybe your house, maybe whoever's house. Did you know that Denver, there's a whole, somebody tagged me in this just before the show, but there's a whole program. If you bring in a migrant family or some migrants or whatever, I don't know how many you need, your electricity bills, all of your utility bills will be paid for by the government. This is a program they're running in Colorado. This is the model to allow, like, oh no, what do we do now? There's all these people here and the money's run out. What do we do? We have to be humans about this, right? Like, why don't you behave like the people did in Newfoundland during 9/11 and just house everybody, because here they are and they need housing. Well, how about no? Right? And so, but that's what they're going to try and do. And it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Single-use item bylaw is government overreach, says Gondik, which is shocking, right? I don't know. I don't think the recall effort worked, but maybe it's humbled her a little bit. I don't know. UBI has been introduced in the House of Commons as a private member's bill by an NDP, and we'll watch part of that press conference. Very concerning things happening in Canada. Lots happening, lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We have to look at Tamar Lich. Tamar Lich has had certain restrictions dropped. She says Team Lich and Barber get the win today. And then she's got heart and then Canadian flags. And she says, just to ensure clarity, the no contact order between myself and Chris Barber was dropped by the judge this morning as the evidence portion of the trial has concluded. The rest of the conditions and no contact orders still stand for now. It's a step in the right direction, and I'm grateful for the win. So there you go. One step, right? Here's Rebel News, and they're reporting the same thing. If you want a little bit more details about that, link should be in the description. 6 Buzz TV. And so I like to start off with good news, right? And then crush you with terrible news. Not really, but that's just sometimes how it goes. 6 Buzz TV is reporting a Toronto lady gets her purse stolen in broad daylight at Woodside Square. Woodside Square is not quite Toronto, Scarborough, Brampton area. Here's video of this happening. Broad daylight, Food Basics parking lot, and a woman is walking up and she's getting her purse snatched by 2 black-clad people in a parking lot. That's pretty traumatic. Right? That's pretty traumatic. Usually, when we see videos like this, the girl becomes a karate expert and she beats up the people who are dressed up like that. This did not end that way, right? Unfortunately. Brittany is highlighting this Joe Warmington piece, and she asks, how's a 21-year-old temporary foreign student out on bail? He should have been deported. Would have saved lives. She's right. Joe Warmington is highlighting this terrible tragedy caused by a 21-year-old on bail for alleged LCBO robberies who pulled a knife on an off-duty cop in another LCBO robbery. The police responded, and horrible carnage needs to be probed, but so does the system that let this guy loose. This is the wrong way crash on the 401. And I've talked about this a couple of times, but Joe Warmington's written a whole article about it. And I just think it's worth the extra attention. The crime is unbelievable in Canada. The drugs, the crime, all of these things have increased. And the Liberals keep telling us lies about the results. The results are the best. You know, we've got the safest communities. We've got the most inclusive communities and blah, 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 diverse communities, nonsense. They're making things worse. Daily. Every day it gets worse. And I can't believe that more people aren't upset. Holly Doan says a lot of lessons to be learned, says Yara Sachs, from short-lived experiment in decriminalizing public use of cocaine, says the addictions minister. The program was scheduled to run until January 31st, 2026. They shut it off. They cut it down. They shut it down because of public disorder, right? So you can't just make drugs legal and not give police the ability to deal with that illegal behavior and expect it to go well. And they really did. They expected it to go well. There were already plans, and I don't know if these plans are still underway or if this has scuttled that. I'm not sure. But there were plans to move that program from BC to Toronto. And I mean, the Toronto public health person and addictions person, there was 2 people I noticed recently talking about this, wanting to bring this policy to Toronto, the BC open drug use and drug use everywhere policies. So, I mean, at this point, I don't think that's going to happen, but they're certainly talking about it. They're certainly trying to really destroy the fabric of whatever civilization we had 10 years ago. Holly Doan again, and we're talking about the invasion, and it's an ongoing invasion. And again, this is one of those things where every day it gets worse. In order to stop this, in order to fix this problem, we have to stop the number of people coming in. We have to stop it, and then we have to wind back the clock by deporting the people who shouldn't be here. And that sounds mean, but it's not mean. If somebody's committed a crime, like jumping over the border that they're not supposed to be at. If you jumped over the border, like I would cross the border at the United States and go into the United States at the proper places. But if I didn't, I would not feel like angry if a ICE officer came up and said, "Hey, buddy, you're not supposed to be here." And then, I was removed from the country. I feel like I would say, "Oh man, they got me this time." Like if I'm committing a crime, I'm understanding the consequences and the risks of committing that crime, right? But we need to do that. That needs to be part of the conversation. That needs to be the way we move forward. If not, then we're just surrendering the country to globalists. And like that's the cold hard truth, honestly. And that's just what they're hoping we'll do. It's too hard. The pathway to fix this problem is hard. It's too hard. And they're hoping that we're just going to go, "Oh, well, it's too hard and we don't want to be called mean names," right? Yeah. Well, if we actually do fight back, then there will be a world war. They will bring all their assets to bear to shut that down, because they can't have a country like Russia run itself while they're running their globalist new world order. Okay, so it's a little bit more complicated than that, but they're hoping that collectively the world will say this is too hard, so we're not going to do it. But we need to. It's important, right? Otherwise, there's going to be a long period of darkness, because these people are not progressive in the sense of moving forward. They're progressive in the sense of moving their power forward. And that means poor people and their boot heel on our necks, okay? On the poor people's necks, and to maintain their power. That's all they want. So let's talk about the ongoing issues of immigration. Holly Doan says, Feds Climate Canada phase out costly hotel subsidies. No, this is not Climate Canada. It's Immigration, Refugees, Citizenship Canada. I don't know why it's SITIM Canada. SITIM Canada phases out costly hotel subsidies to shelter illegal immigrants and refugees. It will be up to local authorities to find permanent sustainable housing for foreigners by 2026, says the department. Oh, you're welcome. Here's a bunch of people. I can find sustainable housing for them. Here's a plane. See you later. Bye. And the next plane's ready. And the next plane's ready. Oh, not ready yet. You just sit in the hangar there and wait. There'll be one any minute, right? See you later. Bye. There's sustainable housing in the country you left, but it's not here. It's not here. That's what we need to do. Here's a response. Tom Quiggin is responding to Holly Doan. He says, in other words, having brought in millions of migrants with no jobs and no skills, no language skills, no interpersonal skills, no social skills, the government will now drop the financial and logistical burden onto the municipalities. So they come out of the hotels and go, where? Your house, my house. No, not a chance. This guy's actually, I've got one other tab to show you first. Here's the Denver plan. And I think this is exactly what they're trying to force us into. Here is a woman. She seems well-spoken. Here we go.
Is actually the sanctuary city of Denver is boasting financial cuts, like defunding the police by $8 million to take care of illegal aliens. There's an actual organization in Denver called Hope Has No Borders, very cute name, of course, where you can actually get paid and paired to host illegal immigrants. All you need to do is dial 211, complete a 20-minute phone call, describe the type of living space you have and how long you would like to host illegal aliens, and in return, you'll get your food and your utility bills paid for. Joe Biden's economy. This is how it works. Currently, illegals receive 6 months of free housing and food in Denver, but apparently that's not enough. Not to mention that Denver has a population of over 700,000, about 80% identify as Democrats, and it is the most liberal city in Colorado, just by pure rankings, not by assumption, but I'd assume correctly anyway. About 40,000 illegals have infiltrated the community over the past 15 months, and the city has allocated almost 90 million, 89.9, on migrant assistance for 2024. So I just can't imagine being a host for migrants that don't speak your language, and then they can run an absolute muck in your home. And then I'm also thinking about the fact that you bring them into your home and it's like, are they doing chores? Because if they start to help out in the home, to me, this just seems like some weird virtual signaling that turns into a snowball of systematic racism in a sense, right? They keep illegals relying on Americans for food, shelter, and dare I say, labor.
Yeah, interesting. I think she meant virtue signaling, not virtual signaling. But otherwise, right? You see where this is going? And then the next phase of the plan will be these Americans are exploiting you. The only reason they can live in the house is because you're there. That's actually your house, right? Like it's inches, and people get used to it to the point where the water cooler talk will be, well, my migrant's pretty good. He does the dishes, oh, it's pretty good. I don't know what I'd do without Mohammed, right? Like, ooh, he's really good. He's great with the kids. right? Like that's the kind of stuff. And then like, oh, another person be like, oh man, well mine's terrible, sleeps all day and just plays Call of Duty. He's a streamer or something like that. There's going to be issues and it's going to cause conflict. And that's the point. And the next phase is talking to the migrants as if they're owed more, right? Like why do you have to put up with those people in your house? Right? Like, yep. And they're going to set it up where white people are the evil tyrants and the migrants are the victims. Where have we seen that before? All over. Wall Street Ape says Ireland citizens confront illegal migrants fresh off their buses getting dropped off at their social security offices. They come armed with knives in their pockets. You're getting £50,000 a year in legal fees. 4-star hotels. Yours are 55% of the crime. Rape, murder, and knives are committed in Ireland. So, wild.
Thanks for letting me film you. These are our new doctors and nurses that come over to help us. That's what I heard. And I want to thank you all very much for being doctors and nurses to help out the Irish community. But what I don't understand is why are you outside a social security office? You're getting 50,000 a year in legal fees. 4-star hotels. 4-star hotels. Because 55% of the crimes, rape, murder and knives are committed in Ireland. Excuse me, is that knife in your pocket? Because you can take it out and stab me.
Yes.
No, I'm not interested. Or you can take it out and stab me. The Norma here and the women of Ireland are the centre of our culture. And we voted no to keep them in our culture.
Nobody understands you here. Nobody speak English.
The woman...
No. Irony, right? Irony. He's telling them cold hard truth, right? And he says nobody understands you. Wild that they're, got knives in their pockets and stuff, right? I mean, they're armed migrants in Ireland outside Social Security. Why? Why are we not allowed? Why is Canadian culture, Ontario culture, Guelph culture not allowed to propagate? Why do we have to be replaced? We are being replaced. Make no mistake about it. Adamental Politics says, I don't think people realize how comprehensively Canada is being invaded by insane, out of control levels of immigration. This says 37,000 to 45,000 students at Conestoga were international student permits. Why is everyone coming here? It's the wrong question. That's the wrong question. The right question is this. How much money per migrant, right? 37,000 times what? Cash money, baby, right? 37,000 times, let's say it's 6,000, just for fun. Hold on, I'll do the math. We'll go with 37 because that's the low one, but $6,000 per semester. So that's $6,000. It's really $12,000 for a year. I think that's where we're at. I think that's close to what I paid. Let's just do one semester times 37,000. Okay, 6,000 times 37,000. This is what Conestoga is raking in on illegal migrant or foreign students. Is that right? 6,000 times 37,000? 222 million? That seems high. I feel like there's a flaw in this math. Do tell me if I've made an error in the math, but that seems high, right? Is $6,000 high? 37,000 foreign students in Conestoga College. $6,000 seems, I'm going to find out what a semester costs. Hold on. I was a little light. $6,000. So the 23-24 academic schedule is 4 months is $5,500 plus 2 more months for English for academic studies at $2,700. Two terms. I was close with the 6,000. It was closer to 7,000. That's 2 terms, $14,000. And then to graduate, this is cumulative? Maybe this is cumulative. To graduate is 15,000? 15,000 for 2 terms. I'm probably reading this terribly wrong, but $6,000 is light. Going with $6,000 times 37,000 students seems like a big payday. Like, do you think that would motivate you? $222 million if you're the leader, if you're the CEO of Conestoga College and this comes across your desk? How many can we bring in? All of them? Every $37,000 a year? Sure. Yes. We'll hire some teachers for $222 million. How can we help? Right. Yeah. So why are they all coming here? Wrong question. How much is that worth to the college? Right. And 222 million reasons to bring these people in. That's why. It's not that Canada is attractive. It's that it's easy and the colleges are incentivized to do it, to bring them in. And they're making more than 222 million. This guy's taken his family to Russia. I think they're being deported. One person's response to me when I posted this, and he posted an article, was that they're being deported because they can't manage the language enough. Like it's hard to speak Russian, apparently. I don't doubt it. Very, very difficult. But Wall Street Silver says Canadian farmer and his 8 children immigrate to Russia from Canada to escape Canadian communism. I could be convinced. I think I could be convinced. This guy makes actually a convincing argument that Russia might be a great place to go. Here we go.
Well, Canada's not the same country it used to be, and we didn't feel safe for our children there in the future anymore. There's a lot of left-wing ideology, LGBTQ, trans, just a lot of things that we don't agree with that they teach there now, and we wanted to get away from that for our children. Also for economic reasons, for farming, better opportunities, we felt Russia was best. Russia also has the strength to stand up against Western pressures, and yeah, I think it'll stand on its own, and it'll keep that stuff away for many, many, many years. Other countries are under the Western influence and wouldn't be able to stand up against it, I don't think. So, why Nizhny Novgorod? It looks a lot like where we're from. It's got a similar climate, lots of land, lots of opportunities, and the government is interested, or tells us that they are very interested in working with Western farmers and helping us to get established here. Well,
so that's up in the air, obviously. But hey, man, if I was given a choice, Russia or Canada at this point in time, honestly, I don't know what I'd choose, because it seems like Canada and the whole West is trying to destroy its citizens and replace them with the Middle East, Middle Eastern people, or Asian people, anybody but white European Canadians, anybody but us. It's wild. Dan says, so, and it doesn't seem like Russia's got that hang up. So Dan says, jaw-dropping. I've reported on this. I've already told you about this. This is another slush fund. This seems like a similar scam to a Rive scam, where you've got dedicated money, sole source contracts, insiders getting the sole source contracts, people who are in conflict of interest getting these sole source contracts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a huge scandal. Again, right? Bigger than NC Lavalin. So says this MP, Dan. He's the MP for Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa, Shadow Minister for Rural Economic Development. And here's just part of this video. Here we go.
Greenhouse gas emissions. His plan was to give away billions of dollars to large companies in exchange for specific reduction in emissions. But last week, Canada's Environment Commissioner revealed that Trudeau's Net Zero Accelerator is nothing more than another Liberal slush fund.
Is the government tracking the value for money for this program? Yes or no?
Not in a public way. We've made our own calculations of the value for money that we could based on the data they have, but we have seen no public reporting on the value for money, no.
We learned the Liberals are giving away billions of your dollars to reduce emissions without knowing how many emissions will be reduced. In fact, the Commissioner uncovered the Liberals approved most of their spending without any commitment to reduce emissions. Check this out.
Did the government approve any funding through their $8 billion fund before knowing exactly how many emissions were supposed to be reduced?
Yes.
Really? For $8 billion?
So there are the majority of the contribution agreements do not have a commitment for reductions. 5 of them do.
And it gets worse. Not only are the Liberals handing out money without knowing the results, but we also learned they've been hiding the truth about their emissions data.
Do you believe that this government is fully transparent with their emissions reporting data?
No, not fully transparent.
In fact, the Environment Commissioner revealed the Liberals could be double counting the emissions they claim to be reduced. Yes, double counting. Is this fraudulent? I'll let you be.
Yes, it's fraudulent. 100% fraudulent. But that's just the tip of the iceberg from the fraud coming from this government. Minister Randy Balsano lied about getting paid from a business lobbying his own government. So what did he do? Records a cheesy music video about how he's working late protecting the rights of Canadians. He deleted it, but the internet is forever. So the Liberals are lunatics. They're doing a whole bunch of attack ads and a whole bunch of different things. It's not hitting, and it seems desperate and crazy. And I mean, Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau both kind of seem desperate and crazy on a regular day. And when they're actually desperate and crazy, it's amped up quite a lot. And Freeland, every time I see her, she looks worse and worse. True, and I mean, that's held true for the entire 8 years, though. So, True North says, Pierre Poilievre asks Prime Minister Trudeau if he'll investigate NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and his brother, Gurchan Singh, a former Ontario MPP, who now works as a lobbyist for the grocery chain Metro, which is irony. Right, here we go.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP leader was just asking about why the Prime Minister gave tens of millions of dollars in corporate handouts to powerful grocery chains. So the answer, of course, is that he voted to let the Prime Minister do that. Not a single penny of that money could have gone without the vote of the NDP coalition partner. But we learned something else, that this might have been due to the influence of the NDP leader's spokesman and brother, whose company is a lobbyist for Metro. Would the Prime Minister support an investigation into whether or not the NDP leader's spokesman and brother has been unduly influencing the leader of the NDP?
The Right Honourable Prime... The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we can see very clearly that all the stories out about the lobbyists' connections with the Leader of the Opposition are actually hurting the Leader of the Opposition, which is why he's asking those questions of the NDP. But
That was enough. All done with Justin Trudeau. Oh, come on. So Justin Trudeau's foolish, and it's interesting that Pierre Poilievre is smart enough to go after the Liberals and the NDP for their projection smears, which is they're accusing Poilievre of what they themselves are guilty of, which is often what is done, right? The Democrats accuse Trump of going to start a war and doing all sorts of being a tyrant, all the rest, and then they actually did that when Biden took office, right? So it's very interesting. But Justin Trudeau, in this response, just continues to beclown himself. He makes himself look foolish, just like Jagmeet Singh as well. And they're not foolish. I don't want to lower our expectations, because these guys have been able to manipulate the House of Commons to their ends for years now, right? So they're able to execute their plan in a way that, I mean, jeepers creepers, they're very, very good at executing their plan. But on the surface, day to day, they look desperate and crazy, right? Like all the time, they just look desperate and crazy. Andrew Scheer, let's talk about the carbon tax. A lot of people think that the Liberal leader Justin Trudeau will leave the Liberal Party before the next election because he's polling so poorly, and they're trying to test new leaders. And they keep coming back to Mark Carney. And I think Mark Carney is a weird amalgamation of Ignatieff and what was his name? The other guy, Stéphane Dion. And because like this guy can actually speak English where Stéphane Dion couldn't, but he looks like Ignatieff, and he's got kind of the same policies as Justin Trudeau. But he says, well, here he's talking about how you need carbon tax policies in order to be taken seriously on the world stage, which I don't think that's true, but I think that they're making that true because they are in control of all of the Western governments at this point in time. So they will make that true. If you don't have a carbon tax policy, they won't trade with you, and that'll destroy your economy. And that's the so what, right? Like that's what happens if you don't have these policies. So you implement these policies, right? But he's saying that the carbon tax has served a purpose up till now. And I can't see what purpose that is. And this guy is supposed to be super smart. Like he's the smartest guy in the room most times when he walks in the room. People look at him and think, oh, this guy's a smart guy. And I'd love to ask him to expand. I'd love to sit down and argue with him, right? Debate with him, and understand that we're in a contentious discussion, because I don't believe a word that he says. And I don't believe his credentials give him actual smarts. Does that make sense? Because he's just playing the globalist game, right? Like if I started talking about how great the CPC was, I'd be my stream would be blowing up, right? Everybody would know about me. Or if I said, go get your shot, be safe and effective, and blah, 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 all that crap, everybody would know me. It's the same thing here, right? He's smart because of his false reputation. And I think it's bullshit. And I think if you strip it all down, he wouldn't be able to back up a single thing that he says at all, right? That's what I think. Here's Mark Carney answering a question. It's 45 seconds. It feels a bit longer, but we have to talk about this, and then we're going to talk about it served its purpose because it didn't. We'll talk about this first. Here we go.
Favor of Justin Trudeau's carbon tax.
I'm
yes
answering
or no will
the
suffice.
point that I'm making.
I didn't hear yes or no.
Well, look,
this is the joy of being a witness. You get to say what you think.
And the joy of being a senator, we get to ask the question.
I
so
understand
are you
that.
in favor of Justin Trudeau's carbon tax? Because to your point, 62 out of 6, Canada right now has fallen 62nd out of 67 countries in climate change index. So the question again I ask, is the carbon tax working, and are you in favor of Justin
And you're
Trudeau's
magically
carbon
going to answer that in about 10 seconds.
I'm going to answer in 10 seconds. I'm going to answer that it's important that we have a forward-looking financial system that has information to manage it, and that we have credible and predictable climate policy.
Thank you very much. Senator Cordova.
Nonsense. And again, he's just hedging his bets. Here's Leo Housakis, who says, new Liberal leader, same as the current leader. Mark Carney tries to duck out on answering questions about Justin Trudeau's carbon tax, but like a good Liberal, he won't duck out on quadrupling the crippling tax. True indeed. And here is Laurie Goldstein. He says, Mark Carney says carbon tax served a purpose until now, calls for credible alternative, says any new climate policy should not only be better and more effective than the carbon tax, but also have the power to drive investment. I have a problem. If you say, let's just pretend I'm the leader of a different party. I'm the new leader of the NDP for whatever reason, okay? And my whole campaign is, I'm going to do what Doug Ford does better. That's not going to do anything. That's not an actual argument. And he's trying to sell something that doesn't exist. We're going to create a vehicle that is better, more effective than the carbon tax, and has the power to drive investment. Okay, those are fancy words, but it's not actually a product that exists. It's not something that we can go to in a sense that the carbon tax is, $50 a ton and blah 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 blah. And he's saying, oh yeah, well, it served its purpose till now, but we have to change it into this new thing. And the new thing is undefined. The new thing doesn't exist. It's fake. It's whatever you want it to be. You'll elect him and you'll have in your mind what you think that he should do, because he's not giving you a firm idea of what it is, right? Trudeau said, oh, $50 per ton carbon tax. And so people thought, oh yeah, that's reasonable. He's not giving you an idea of what it is. So you vote on this thing that you have in your head that you think he's talking about, and he'll put some frills on it and stuff, but he won't actually define it. And then when he gets into office, it'll just be the carbon tax again. It'll just be the same nonsense that we're dealing with now. And nobody's allowed to actually talk about the fact that this is a hoax meant to control us. You have to pretend that carbon tax is a way to solve the problem of emissions. And emissions aren't a problem, period. They're not. It's that simple. So they're all trying to get in on this idea, and it's a scam. It's a scam. Jim Murphy says, tell me Mark Carney doesn't want to be prime minister. He sees how unpopular the carbon tax is. Beware, though, he's more dangerous than Trudeau. Yeah, he's more dangerous. He's smarter than Trudeau, I think. Trudeau is a bad actor, and Mark Carney is maybe a marginally better actor. People who are operating in the shadows, right? People like Carney, who was the leader of the Bank of England for a while, and the Bank of Canada, I think, too. He's creating situations. He's setting up the deals. Trudeau is just the public face of it. Trudeau just says pretty words in press conferences, et cetera, and then goes off and surfs or whatever, right? He doesn't actually do anything. He's just a suit filler, right? And a pretty face, I guess. But Mark Carney is in the background pulling strings. He's more of a capo, more of a leader than Justin Trudeau is, right? And the same with all of the people at that level, right? They're a different level. And so bringing him in to lead, I think it's funny because he's not electable, really. He's not electable. He's not likable. He's got yellow teeth. He's not likable. And he's got yellow teeth. Anyway, Mark Carney says carbon tax served a purpose until now, calls for credible alternative, but Carney told senators that any new climate policy should not only be better and more effective than the carbon tax, but also have the power to drive investment. That's like me trying to raise a round of investment for, I'm gonna do Apple better. I'm going to make an iPhone better than Apple. And be like, okay, sure, buddy. Have fun with that, right? It's not something that's plausible, in my opinion. Dooner says, hold on a second. Yeah, Dooner is talking about trucks, and he's responding to this. I guess it's next post. It says truckers are hitting the pause on plans to introduce battery electric big rigs, and Ryder Systems Incorporated wanted to find out why. The company took a load and route data from 13,000 vehicles in its dedicated transportation service and calculated the cost difference between battery and diesel. It found the annual cost of operating a battery electric heavy duty truck is about double the cost of diesel trucks. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. They're going to carbon tax it up. They're going to make the carbon tax so expensive that your diesel truck is the same as the electric truck to run. That's the plan, right? To make it equal, right? Equity, baby. Jeff says, Mayor. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful